I was very young when the 84 riots happened, and I've of course read a lot about it, but I do have many family friends who have lots of stories, personal and indirect as well, of what happened in 84. We have someone who works with us in Patodi who also narrowly escaped in 84, and in fact we were moving from Mumbai to Delhi in 1984. That's when we moved to Delhi. And he now still works in our household. And I remember he cut his hair again. I mean, he was a Sardar, is a Sardar, but he cut his hair after 84 happened, and he was and continues to be very traumatized by what he was subjected to. We have a Gurdwara in Patodi as well, which is where I come from, which I remember being razed to the ground in 84. So of course, I mean, these are sort of hazy memories that one has as a child, where you don't really understand what was happening, and certainly you don't understand why. And these similar situations have arisen since then, whether it was in Mumbai in the early 90s, or whether it's been in Godhra, there have been situations where various communities have come under threat. So I have sometimes academic knowledge and sometimes personal knowledge of situations like that. And it's unfortunate, and the point of the film, I think, is to instill a positive message where you talk about the fabric of India as being one that is, of course, diverse, but yet we are united, and there is a huge sense of brotherhood and a sort of collaboration in the face of some, I think, people who have poor motivations and who are mischievous and who try and manipulate you. But I have faith in the public, and I have faith in people and the fact that they essentially are good, and they come together to look after each other irrespective of religion or your background or your gender or any of those sort of divisions. I actually know a few people who were affected by 84 and who have their stories, as I said, and this film is also based on a real life family whom we did meet, and sooner, closer to the time of release, we want to introduce the media to that family, but now we feel it might be too soon to do that. So of course I have shared many stories. It's still, you're still many degrees away, because when you hear a story, it's really not at all like being there, and then you have to play that character and emote. So of course it's never, you can only imagine what people must have felt, but it is powerful to meet people and hear their stories, and it's very moving. And what's wonderful is that the stories are essentially those of how their neighbors, whether they were Hindu or Muslim or Christian, of various backgrounds that were non-Sikh, came together to help their Sikh brothers and sisters and put their lives in danger to do that. I hear lots of stories that sort of reinstate your faith in humanity. Yes, I'm aware that there's a Vidwa colony in Delhi. I've never been there, but I do know of it. And one day I would like to go there. I didn't feel it was necessary to go there in terms of, preparing for the film or anything, because what essentially happens to this family is over the course of one night and one day, immediately in the aftermath of Indira Gandhi's assassination. So they don't really understand what's happening. And then of course the consequences of what happens are being felt even today in Vidwa colony, for example, where there are 450 families who were broken apart by this incident. So I'm aware of it, of course, but I've never been there. I was certainly concerned, given the nature of the subject and given how things get politicized quite quickly, that a particular community or party might object to the film or might misunderstand what the film is about. And a lot of people tend to get offended without actually seeing the film or knowing what it is about. So there were concerns, but I'm very happy that the censor board has passed the film with only 9 cuts, and those 9 cuts are really not very significant also. I know it was a struggle for Harry, and initially they asked for 40 cuts. But he really held his own and went back and forth and used diplomacy to get his way in the end, which I again commend him for. So again, there are films that have faced this before and cuts and censorship, I'm just glad that ours is now ready to release, because there's really nothing in it that is objectionable like that. Well, again, I mean, I think I answer that by saying that as artists, I think people don't want to be censored or banned, certainly. And the idea of the censor board is to be a certification board which is supposed to tell you, give you an age which is appropriate for viewing, and not to cut or censor. And I think often we get quite trigger happy with, cutting and censoring and protecting people and saying that this is going to offend someone and this is not going to offend someone. So again, as an artist, I'm again feel that yes, there's a responsibility you have as the CBFC, which is about making sure that a film doesn't provoke people or create a situation which is undesirable, but that is supposed to be saved for the rare or the rarest of the rare. I feel sometimes they're a little trigger happy when it comes to this, and it always happens just before the release of the film when a particular person decides to get offended, and then it creates problems for the producer because it happens at a very last minute and becomes like either a court case or leads to problems. Yeah.